I know that we'll have people joining us too. So good evening, everyone. This is the Sexton Mountain and Neighbor Southwest Joint NAC meeting, and so glad that you're here on such a beautiful, beautiful day. And just a couple housekeeping things that I wanted to refer to, and one of them, Franziska has already taken care of, but to just let you know that there were recent changes in the Oregon public meeting laws, and so our meetings are now recorded. Once the video is processed by the city's web team, it's published and it's put onto our board's webpage for public viewing. And all of you who are attending are invited to participate at any time during the meeting at designated opportunities. And in which to do so, there is a raised hand function. Now, I know on my computer, I've got to go down to participants, find my name, and it's at the bottom of, well, maybe not on this one. Never mind. On all the rest of my Zoom meetings, it is. But there is a raised hand function, and we will look for that. You can also type into the chat at any time. You're being muted right now, but you can either do spacebar or unmute when you're recognized in order to speak. So, any questions before we get started? All right. So the first part of our meeting is the visitors' comments, and I know that there are at least 4 of you, I believe. Jerome, Jeanette, Ashley, and Saralyn. Thank you so much for coming. We are doing the May 18th special election, and you as candidates have 5 minutes each to introduce yourselves and let us know a little bit about yourself and your candidacy. And I'm just going to go who is in the queue on my screen, if that's okay with you. Okay. And Jerome, I see you first. And I know that you are for the city council position, you're one of the candidates. So please introduce yourself and let us know a little bit about.
Really quick, do you need me to take time for the 5 minutes, or is somebody else from the board doing that? I'm happy to do that if needed.
Oh, that would be great. Thank you, Franziska. Okay, Jerome?
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Jerome Sibayan, and I am running for Beaverton City Council because I am a public servant who wants to serve the people of Beaverton with honor, integrity, and respect. I am the son of Filipino immigrants and was raised in Salem. I now live in the Vos neighborhood. My word is my bond. I am a veteran, a retired Army Lieutenant Colonel. I served for 28 years in war and peace around the world and throughout the United States. I am a licensed professional engineer with bachelor's and master's degrees in civil engineering. As a former public works director, I understand the importance of infrastructure to a resilient and sustainable city. I am an educator with master's and doctorate degrees in history and political science. I have taught courses on healthcare inequities and human rights at Portland State University, and currently teach courses on national security and critical thinking at the Army War College. I am a community volunteer. I have served the people of Beaverton through the Human Rights Advisory Commission, the Beaverton Severe Weather Shelter, Community Emergency Response Team, Social Services Funding Committee, Beaverton School District Bond Accountability Committee, Metro's Get Moving 2020 Transportation Infrastructure Investment Team, and Home Plate for Homeless Youth. I also serve with Engineers Without Borders, Community Engineering Corps, and the Education First Scholarship Foundation, all benefiting traditionally underserved communities. I am grateful that my military pension and ongoing teaching allows me to self-fund my campaign. If elected, I will donate all after-tax counselor compensation to local charities. I will serve our city with honor, integrity, and respect. Thank you for your time, and thank you for your service. I do appreciate it, and I know what a incredible burden it might be to spend evenings on volunteer committees in Beaverton, it's definitely worthwhile and benefits the city in so many ways. So thank you for that. And I don't know if we have time for questions, or if that's pretty much it. Franziska.
There is time for questions. You have 2.5 minutes for questions.
Okay.
Jim.
Yeah, nice to meet you. What inspired you to get involved and to run for the seat?
I would say that the impetus was the adoption of the new city charter. It's such a terrific opportunity. I was an Army transformation chief, and so I was part of a team that stood up or created organizations in the Army, from Hawaii to Alaska to Pennsylvania and Washington and Germany. And then we took those organizations and deployed them into war. But part of creating organizations is the whole universe of what happens in an organization, whether, how sub-organizations relate to each other, the whole power structure, the logistical part of it. It's so complicated, and this idea of a new city charter is fascinating to me. And I think there are some hard conversations that need to happen in terms of educating people about how their government actually works. I can tell you that the charter was not written for the average person to read and understand. And when you talk about a functioning democracy, you got to have an educated and informed public. And if you don't have that, then you have basically 20 people in the city of 100,000 who actually understand how the city works. And that sets the conditions for, corruption and other serious problems. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. I think that's all I got, Franziska.
Unless you can take and answer a question in 30 seconds.
I'm not going to try and do that. No, but thank you for your time. I appreciate it. And I'm going to have to drop out of here a little early, and I'd like to type my email address in the chat. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for sharing what your vision is. All right. And I'm just going to mention that you might want to look at, as you're having your 5 minutes, look at Franziska, because she was doing what Terry Lawler and I usually do at the Voters Forum, saying, you have 1 minute, you have 30 seconds, you have 20, and then stop. So she will be your timekeeper, and I saw her put up a finger. So that'll be a visual for you. I had mentioned that I was going to go in order of people who are on the screen. So Jeanette, I believe you are the Zone 1 Beaverton School District candidate. So please introduce yourself.
Yes, thank you, Sharon and Dr. Alison. I appreciate coming here, and Franziska for setting this up. I have been speaking at the various neighborhood NACs for the better part of the last 6 weeks, as I've been able to get in and meet with the chairs and constituents. So first and foremost, I am an educator of 23 years. I have worked as a teacher's aide right out of high school, and then I went and got my bachelor's degree at California State University, Sacramento in liberal studies, which is short for elementary education, because that was my interest. And substitute taught for about 8-9 years while my children were growing up. And then we moved to Central Oregon, where I entered the first cohort for the Oregon State University Cascade campus for the master's and teaching credential program combined. And I was able to get my master's in teaching, where I did a lot of studying of brain-based learning and other aspects on how children learn, which was very fascinating, combined with my bachelor's degree with elementary education. But the funny part is I ended up in high school. So I taught English for 10 years in both Oregon at Gilchrist School, California at a 95% Black charter school, and then another rural school in Oregon that had quite a large group of Latino students. And so lots of diversity in my teaching. Then we moved to Texas, where I taught there for 6 years on an alternative campus and then a home campus as well, with lots of diversity, as you can imagine, in Houston, Texas. And then we moved back to the Beaverton, Tigard area, where I was thinking about going back in the classroom. I did renew my certificate here because it had expired, and this opportunity came up to run for school board. And the reason why I chose to run for school board is because we moved here. My son was a straight A student, and his grades started slipping. We were originally at Aloha High School while we were renting a place, trying to figure out where to purchase a home because it's almost double the price here in the Portland area. And he was doing great. He had a lot of support. And then we moved to Southridge High School, and his support started to decline, and so did his grades. And so I chose to take him out of Southridge High School to put him into a public charter school just so he could get his grades back up. And 1 week later, COVID hit. And so he's been in the online charter school ever since. He is chomping at the bit to get back into a regular high school, to be with his friends. His grades have plummeted like many, many other students, and we need to open up the schools a full 5 days. That is my main catalyst for getting into the school board. I've never looked at running for political office before. And so I'm a mom and I'm a teacher. And I'm also looking at getting back to the basics, making sure we get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic. Too much political and social ideology has infiltrated our schools, and we're looking at creating activists versus having a critical thinking group of students who are going through school to become our next leaders in the nation, and other professions that they choose to go into. And so getting back to civics that is properly taught, and a balanced historical history curriculum that is accurate as well is very important. And lastly, I want to make the help make the career and technical education program much more robust. In Beaverton School District, minus last school year, because that is an anomaly year with COVID, and minus this school year, it is 86% graduation rate, which is very low. And it is 77% among the Latino population, which is even lower. And so we need to up that. And I think the career and technical education program will help with that. And sorry, I ran over.
Franziska,
Sorry, I should have said that was 30 seconds. You still have 30 seconds.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
I apologize.
No, not a problem. If there's a question I can answer in 20 seconds, I'll try and shoot at it.
Anybody have a quick question?
I will put my email in the chat box, and I do respond to my emails, and I call people regularly. So if you have any questions that you can think of, and we have been actively working in both the Sexton Mountain and the, what's the other one? The North Neighbor Southwest area with canvassing and campaigning. So I look forward to meeting each of you a little bit more.
Jim.
I have a quick question. It's more of a comment. Understand. Quick.
Yeah, we actually don't have any more time for that. Sorry, it's pretty strictly enforced 5-minute rules.
Maybe type it into the chat.
Or you can email Jeanette directly if you wanted to kind of converse on that more.
Okay, Jeanette, thank you so much. Okay, and next on my screen in order of what I'm viewing is Ashley Hartmeier-Prigg.
And just to reconfirm, it's my symbols will be 1 minute, 30 seconds, full stop.
Okay.
Thank you. My name is Ashley Hartmeier-Prigg, and I'm running for Beaverton City Council. I grew up in Beaverton and spent a lot of time at the library back when it was on Ellen. We could walk there from our house. I lived in Beaverton or Aloha for nearly my entire life, with the exception of college, where I attended the University of Portland, but I even commuted from Beaverton to law school in Salem. I'm currently the chair of the board of directors of the Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District. And at THPRD, we've seen the importance of regional relationships. We've seen the importance of government acting in service to the people. and I believe my leadership experience at THPRD has prepared me to serve on the City Council. We passed an affordable housing policy that will bring over 600 affordable units to the area. We partnered to host shelters for people experiencing homelessness in our spaces during COVID-19 closures. And we created a new naming process for parks and trails to truly reflect the rich diversity of our community. I am proud to be endorsed by our Washington County Chair, our Metro President, and our Beaverton Mayor. Partnerships like this across our region are the types of partnerships needed for navigating our COVID-19 recovery, for creative solutions for affordable housing, and for doing our part to reverse climate change. I'm also proud to be endorsed by the Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce, the Tualatin Valley Firefighters Union, and the Beaverton Education Association. The relationships I've built mean I will hit the ground running in service to the residents of Beaverton. I am here today because I care about Beaverton, and I know that our neighborhood associations are a critical connection to our community. I'm grateful for the time you volunteer in service to our community and to provide input to the city of Beaverton. So thank you for having me today, and please do let me know if you have any questions I can answer.
And Franziska, how much time do we have for that?
3 minutes.
Oh. Jim, here's your chance. Wow.
All right, well, I will put my email in the chat in case you think of questions later. Thank you.
Ashley, thank you so much.
Yes.
All right, nice to meet you. And then finally, we have.
Well, really quick, we actually will have one more candidate who I'm about to promote right now for the school board. Yes.
I see it in the chat.
Dr. Zhu. Yep. So, but yes, please continue with Saralyn Dougall.
Okay. Saralyn, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Hi, thank you. Yes, my name is Saralyn Dougall. I'm so nice to meet you tonight. I'm running from meeting to meeting. I just talked to the Errol Hassel PTO, a wonderful group of volunteers in our Beaverton schools. So let me just introduce myself. My name is, like I said, is Saralyn Dougall. I've lived in Beaverton for 16 years. My husband actually was born and raised here and graduated from Beaverton High School. So it's fun to return to his roots and to share this community with our family. So I'm a mother of 5 children. I have 1 child graduating this year, and I have 2 who have already graduated, 1 who will be in high school next year, and then 1 more who is in elementary school. And we have enjoyed our experiences here in Beaverton. You know, I'm running because I'm concerned about a few things for the schools and for the children, and for the families, the community of Beaverton. First and foremost, we really need to get these schools open. I think we can all agree that these kids need to get back to school. They are suffering. Their grades are suffering. Emotionally, they're suffering. Psychologically, they're suffering. They really need to get back to school. So that is something that we are striving towards, and we really want to emphasize. We have talked to people who are in part of the conversations with the unions, and the unions are not really interested in opening up full-time next fall. And we're really concerned about that. Not only do the kids need to get back for all those reasons, but the families need to get back to normal as well. And so we're really striving to work with the union and to get kids back to school. So secondarily, we really want to make sure and we focus on getting back to basics. We want to make sure that the kids have the opportunity to learn and grow to their fullest potential. There are not one size fits all for these kids. And we need to make sure that there are a variety of opportunities that will meet their needs and help them be raised up to their fullest potential. We want to focus on the math and English and history and arts, so that these kids can have a full and dynamic experience and really find out more about who they are and become their best self. We want to meet the needs of all in our community. We want all to have the opportunities to be lifted and nurtured. That is all I have for you right now. Do you have any questions for me?
Got a little over 2 minutes.
Okay, that's fine.
So Saralyn, you are zone 4, Jeanette is zone 1, and Dr. Xu, you are zone 2. Is that correct? Okay.
That's
So,
Yes.
Jim, did you have a question?
Yeah, it goes back, and same thing with Jeanette, that has come up as like going back to basics, and I've been living in Beaverton for 25 years. This goes back to go back to the basics, and you're running up against teachers unions that have other ideas. That's a tough climb, and I wish you well. What you're saying, both of you are saying is the right thing, but that's what I'm saying is that what can you do to change the attitude against what the teachers unions are, in the way that what their interests are versus going back to the basics, which it isn't. It's not the same thing.
Yeah, no, that's a really excellent question, and it deserves some looking into. I don't have all the information gathered at this point. I know it needs to be done. I know that there are other districts who have been able to do it. I know that across the nation this has been an issue, and so we will be certainly tapping shoulders to find out from others, how did they do it, what did they do, what worked. And it'll take a lot of communication, it'll take a lot of intention, it'll take a great deal of effort, but it can be done, and we need to do it for the sake of our students, for the sake of our community. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, if you can find formulas that work, then that's the start.
Okay, thanks.
we have 30 seconds left. I'll just make a comment to the Beaverton School District candidates. Absolutely, with the essentials of reading, writing, all of that. I just want to say that there are 3 people on this board of our NACs, and we are all in music and art. And so I just want to put out a shout out there for, and I'm out of time. Shout out arts and music.
Thank you. We need that. Thank you. Our kids need that. It's a real important way for us to develop our minds and to connect and to develop our whole selves. Thank you for your contribution as well. I need to go. I'm actually at another activity where I'm helping a group of 9-year-olds do some things. So we're trying to keep our 6-foot or 3-foot distance, but we're working on some activities. So I'm going to say goodnight to you. Please let me know if you have any questions. I would be happy to talk to anybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Sharon, may I add that the Beaverton Friends of Music is having their forum tomorrow, and it's open to the public. So
do you want to type that into the chat?
yeah, I can
Okay.
put it in there.
And by the way, just for everybody's, you probably already know this, but when we come to the conclusion of this meeting, if you go into the chat, there is a function of the ellipsis at the bottom, the 3 dots, you can save the chat onto your computer. So I believe that occurs on this one. I should have checked it before. Yes, and yes, you can save the chat. Okay. All right, and welcome, Dr. Xu. Yeah.
Sorry, really quick, when we're talking about the chat, I just want to make the distinction because sometimes it's not readily obvious for folks putting stuff in the chat. You have to use the drop down to do panelists and attendees. Otherwise, only us on the screen as panelists see the chat. So Jerome and Ashley, if you want to recopy and put it out for all of the attendees, then everybody will get your email address that's in attendance tonight.
Thank you.
All right.
Is it my turn?
Yes, it is. Welcome.
Okay, thank you everyone giving me a chance to introduce myself. Can I share screen with you?
Yes, you have the screen sharing function.
Okay.
We can see that.
You can see this, my screen? Okay, good. So my name is Fuhua, last name Xu, and I'm running for Beaverton School District Board Member Zone 2. And the election day is May 18, it's very far, it's close. So here is the zone 2 map, and A school was assigned to the zone 2. I will say Beaverton School District is really, really good district because from the rank is number 9. It's really good school, and still have some problem because only the 86 graduate rate. So it means about 14% student cannot grade. So we need, in fact, what is the reason? Because the school or any other family reason. So what kind of things we can do as a school board member, and we can help them to get a graduate from the high school. Also, here is very short about me, myself. I live in the zone 2 for over 20 years, and my 2 kids was born and grew at this zone. And as myself, scientist, I work at OSHU. I have a doctoral degree, and I always volunteer at the classroom or the sports meeting or team sports and other places. So I really care about the Beaverton school. I hope all the school will be better and better, and every student can get excellent education at the school. So as I understand, I think the education in the school, especially for the primary and the secondary education, is very, very important because it builds the foundation for the children's future lives, because every children need knowledge for their living, for their survive in the current country, in the current community. And they are also, these kids are our future, and they will build the future of our countries, and a country we live and we love. And this country also, they will live and they will love. So the kids, the children in the school should be learn knowledge and learn how to think, but not what to think. I think the most important currently is to open school for all the students for 5 days, 4 times, and absolutely the should be safety and correctly. The safety reason is everyone knows the pandemic, and the school need to be do something for all the students, teachers, and the staff's safety. And also for the security, because currently a lot of attack Asian American people happened in the big cities. So we also think need to have something to do to keep students safe and reduce parents' stress. Also, as a school board, need to listen all the parents, students, and the teacher committee members' voice. And this kind of voice comes from the different background, different culture. And I will done very quickly. And also we need to use all the resources from the school, from the community to help students to learn career learning and the college level option for all the students, because we want to give every student outstanding education. And as last sentence, some people already mentioned for the teacher, we talk about a lot of learning. And here, last line on my screen is STEAM. I put A over there, it means art. So we need art in our school. That's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I was glad to see the STEAM versus STEM. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
And did I understand that did you say that you work at OHSU?
Yes.
Where?
OBGYN department.
Oh, I worked in the NICU for 31 years there.
Oh, great.
I ran the
Great.
resuscitation team, so I would have known you if I still worked there. So wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm very glad that you came in and were able to get into the discussion tonight.
Yes, I just wanted to bring some different thought because as a scientist, I believe so anything will be use different views.
Okay, thank you very much. So now is the time that we have our reports from Beaverton Police, THPRD, which is Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec Department, and our city. So we're going to lead off with Officer Paul Fleckenstein. So, hello, welcome.
Hi, everybody. I know it's been a little while. Unfortunately, I've been kind of busy with patrol work. So unfortunately, when I'm, I always planned to be here for something that happens in just the past couple of months, but unfortunately, I get caught up with other calls, and unfortunately, I can't.
I'm glad you made it.
So, but for those of you who don't know me, and for those that are tuning in, one, I want to thank all the candidates, at least for coming in and kind of sharing all your guys' information and everything like that. That's always extremely helpful to kind of see what's coming and what's new potentially for our city. So that's always great. But for me, my name is Officer Paul Fleckenstein. I've been with the department for a little over 3.5 years, and I've been with the NAC for, I guess, under a year now, I think, about so. But I currently live in the area. I grew up in Beaverton as well. And so I really love the community that we have here. And I'm very grateful that I get the opportunity to serve the citizens of Beaverton, that's for sure. But kind of a little info and kind of some things that we missed, at least for as far as crimes and things like that. I always like to start off with some of the statistics and things like that going on in Beaverton. Nothing in particular new and nothing earth shattering or anything that obviously brings any real concerns, at least for this area. Obviously, kind of just making sure your doors and everything like that are locked, and because people are always constantly trying to go to jiggle door handles and all those types of things. But as far as kind of some of the events, we haven't been able to have any kind of events or anything like that. We used to have shred event and things like that, but just due to COVID and some of those limitations. But we are having on April 24th between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. I'll put the link in it for it, but the DEA is doing like a drug take back. So if you have any older kind of prescription medications or anything like that you're kind of concerned about putting into either the garbage or concerned about your safety of your kids or family members or anything like that, or just getting in the wrong hands in general, that's going to be on April 24th this month. And so just a couple of days from now, it's going to be on Saturday. So in between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., it's going to be at the Beaverton Police Department, the new building that we just have on Southwest Allen and Hall. So if you just kind of come off to the main, and I'll make sure to put the link in before I go, just to let everyone know at least of that event. In regards to some other things that have kind of been going on, we recently had our crimes victims, typically every year at the county, specifically in April, kind of May, we typically put out I've been trying to find the video. I was actually in it because I'm bilingual, so I was able to speak in English and Spanish for the dual part of it. So I was able to kind of offer up. We had over at least 3,000 some victims this past year, all various different types of crimes and things like that. And so the county every year just kind of likes to put those out and just to kind of show that the type of work that we're doing and the type of community members and things like that we're doing with on a daily basis. So as for that, that's kind of what I've got going on recently. I'm off tonight, so I've been in training this past week because I'm training to become a certified crisis intervention specialist. So just dealing with people that in any type of crisis, whether that's related to mental health or some person that could be particularly on just some type of substance abuse, or whether that's just any daily life where they might just be having a difficult time. So just kind of using kind of more tools to add to the toolbox and to kind of aid those that are potentially at harm of harming themselves or others, and kind of be able to kind of de-escalate those situations so we don't have a nonviolent outcome or anything like that, which is always good for us. So if there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer any that I can. But if not, I'm just glad to be here.
Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to see you.
Officer Paul, I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
How are you all liking the new art that's there at your spot on the corner of Allen and Hall?
I actually love it. I think I like the color and I like the lighting and everything like that. At first, I mean, it's depending on your kind of perception or how you're looking at it. I mean, in one sense, it can be looked as a giant badge in another sense, but then like the wording and everything like that, like the benches, I actually saw someone eating out there for the first time the other day, which is a normal community member. So I thought that was pretty cool. So these people are hopefully feeling comfortable enough to use that space. So we obviously want to invite people to use that space and kind of get to know us as best as possible. So we're all for that.
That's great. I'm glad to hear that. Sharon, Jim, and I, we saw it as it was going from, plans to fruition. So it's exciting to see it up and running.
Yeah, it's great.
The drug take back, it used to be that you had in the Griffith Park area had like, it looked like a mailbox and you could just go into the lobby and just dump your stuff in there.
Yes.
Is this going to be just by appointment, one-offs on occasion, or are you going to have that more centralized availability?
So per the actual event that I'm seeing online, it looks like it's going to be located on the kind of the west side. So just right off of Main Street. So Allen and Main, that's going to be on the west side of our building. So it looks, I would imagine that you're going to be able to kind of drive up. It doesn't offer as far as what particular, like, or how they would accept it or anything like that. But I would imagine if you just keep it in some type of sealable bag or anything like that, they should be able to take it from there. So.
Right. Okay.
Diana, thanks for joining us. You had a question?
I did. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Diana Balbag. I'm the city's media and communications officer, but I also live in Neighbor Southwest. So I just had a question for the group. We had some mailbox break-ins in my neighborhood a couple of weeks ago, and I know there was a couple of other streets that also had some significant break-ins as well. And so I just wanted to see if there was an update that you could provide on that, or if you had any other information.
As far as I know, I have heard of that actually. I know that we've kind of had a spring of those kind of in different parts of Beaverton. So typically what happens with those types of cases, we actually refer that off to the U.S. Postal Service. They actually have their own agents and special, basically law enforcement entity and within that realm. So they are actually, he's actually fantastic. He actually looks into all these particular cases in any type of way that we can kind of help facilitate either getting them further evidence or anything like that. But unfortunately, I don't have any updates on for you in regards to that. I typically work kind of in the core area, but I have heard of them. But as far as I know, I don't believe that we have any suspects at this time. But as far as I know that we've kind of related and given everything that we have to the U.S. Postal Service at this time. So yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I had a better answer for you, but that's all I got at this time.
No, that's great.
Mountain went through this. I'm sorry, Diana. Go ahead.
I was just saying thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I went to the post office and I actually talked to one of the supervisors there about this, and it was a rash in Sexton Mountain a few months ago, and they tore into those community mailboxes where they just ripped open all of them, and the outgoing mail and the boxes that contain parcels, packages, and their comment was, if you wanted to, as a neighborhood, you could go to postal, I can't remember what it's called. Anyway, it's a more hardened, secure system, but it would cost the neighbors to do so.
Sure.
So we just elected to just have them come and fix all the boxes and get them back in service, and we haven't been hit again.
Yeah, well, that's very good. Yeah, unfortunately, like most things in life, and if you want to have something kind of a better product or anything like that, you do have to pay a little bit more. And unfortunately, criminals are pretty savvy nowadays as far as depending. I mean, if you can imagine what they put their mind to something else rather than to the type of things that they're doing, what we might be able to accomplish. But
exactly.
Yeah, so it's unfortunate that it happens, but hopefully those types of things can get taken back. And every once in a while, we do come across things that were previously taken, and we're able to get that back to their owners and safe and sound. So, but yeah, it's just kind of few and far between sometimes. So.
Thank you. I'm so glad you were able to join us tonight. Okay, if there are no other questions, Mark, I think you're up next from Tualatin Hills Parks and Rec.
Okay, well, thank you. My name is Mark Hokkanen. I'm the Risk and Contract Manager with Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District. I happen to live in the Sexton Mountain area, and I believe I've been on the NAC for about 3 or 4 years representing the Park District. Spring is here, obviously, with the great weather. Want to remind everybody that we have classes going on. So if you want to visit our website, you can register. In a couple weeks, May 1st, which is a Saturday, we will be opening up our summer registration and offering a large number of summer camps. We will be also releasing camp information this year on our website. It actually, I believe, was last week. So I will, in the chat, put our website as well as my email address in case there's questions that come up after this meeting. But we will not be producing that thick summer activities guide like we have in the past. It will be all online this summer. So look for your summer camps and classes on the website. We will continue to host a multilingual welcome center. We are in the process of expanding it to serve all languages. So Saturday, May 1st, from 7:30 to 12. The center will be located at the HMT complex at 158th and Walker Road. We have bilingual staff and volunteers available to help everybody. We are also partnering with the Muslim Educational Trust, who will provide in-person interpretation for Arabic, Farsi, Salam, don't know how to pronounce that, and many more, as well as we also have a language line which will service other languages. THPRD is in the process of hiring. So if you have a high school or college age staff, or you may want a part-time job, we do have part-time and seasonal opportunities available to help support us with our summer programming. Again, please visit the website to learn more about the various openings. We also have a volunteer recruitment program called RISE, and this is for teenagers 14 and over interested in training to become youth leaders. Participants have an opportunity to learn leadership and communication skills and able to improve their experiences to be able to join the workforce. Applicants commit to a minimum of 50 hours of service through the summer, and they can also earn their school community service requirements in areas of gardening, work parties, habitat restoration, community and cultural events. With COVID, there's been a lot of questions regarding the youth sports and the idea of spectators. Spectators are allowed. Unfortunately, it is dependent upon the risk level for the county at that time. Right now, during the week of April 5th, we were allowing basically 4 spectators per athlete. That I would assume changed today. I did not get a chance to listen to the report from OHA. But Washington County, my understanding was possibly going to go up to a high from the moderate level, so that may be reduced in the future. The main thing is to talk to your youth sports program. So if it's Little League, soccer, we are communicating directly to them, and then they are the ones who need to enforce that spectator rule. And as always, everybody needs to make sure they're wearing face coverings and trying to remain that 6 feet apart. The Park District's pursuing federal funding. We have an opportunity for up to about $1.5 million in some federal funding. One of the ideas that we're looking at is some funding for the West Side Trail Bridge to be included in a regional package as part of a federal infrastructure bill. There's a City Nature Challenge. The challenge is a community science event to observe and document as many plants and wildlife as possible in a 4-day period, which is April 30th through May 3rd. People participate from around the world, and this is the first time that the greater Portland, Vancouver area will be participating. Again, check the website for more details. And then lastly, the Eichler Park track, which is next to the fire station of Farmington Road. We are in the process of expanding 40 feet to the south in partnership with Northwest Trail Alliance. And this was basically, this expansion was part of a community outreach with the NAC in that area and feedback from the neighborhoods. And so this is going to almost probably add 50% more to that bike track. And I'd happy to answer any questions at this time. And if not, I will just put my email and the website into the chat. I think
Any questions?
Like Dan has a question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. First of all, I wanted to say I've been using the Powerline Park a lot, and I think that's pretty awesome. And my question then is, the Progress Ridge Park is closed. It has been closed for over a year now. Now's the time that they're stocking trout, and they are not stocking trout because it's closed. I was wondering when they will reevaluate opening that so I can fish there with my kids.
That is a good question, and I don't have an answer for you. I'd have to visit that one with some other staff members. So if you want to send me an email, I'd be happy to find out for you and get you a response.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, I think I know, you know what I'm going to ask Elsie Stir.
I think we've mentioned in the past, I mean, the Stir Center, because of the population, is going to be probably the last facility that we bring back online. Bringing everything back online is, somewhat COVID dependent as well as budget. So after July 1, we will have a better idea, hopefully, on, what we can and cannot do in moving forward. But I think if I heard correctly, ideally it would be hopefully, sometime in the late fall.
Okay.
But again,
I have some students who keep asking me, and I said,
yeah.
Is Garden Home in the same boat?
I don't know. Garden Home right now has a lot of contracted users. I mean, we have a couple daycares, the Garden Home library inside. Right. But I'm not sure where that fits in the reopenings.
And there's one other troubling thing that I just wanted to pass on to you. I keep hearing this over and over again. People are saying that Elsie Stir is going to be torn down. I do know that the city and the Park District are talking about Elsie Stir. The city, I believe, owns the property and we own the building. So that's a discussion I'm sure that may be continuing in the future. But I don't know anything other than they're discussing. Okay. I just never know what to say to people who mention that. Okay. Any other questions? Mark, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And Franziska, it is your turn to give us the city update.
Great, thank you. And I also just want to acknowledge that Diana so very kindly and always in the know, let us know that we did go to high, the level for our county, for Washington County, effective Friday. So just wanted to make note of that. And yeah, I just have a handful of updates this month. So the first is what's happening on 5th Street. So earlier this month, Mayor Lacey Beatty, with help from project experts, provided an overview and listened to questions from community members on 5th Street happenings. The virtual event was held April 1st. and includes information on the fountain renovation at City Park, the senior affordable housing project, and book corner prospects. A video of the event is accessible online at beavertonoregon.gov/Fifth Street projects, and I'll put that link in the chat in a moment here with an overview of each project. These projects support Beaverton's community-driven vision for a more dynamic city center with better access to equitable services. Next up is City Manager recruitment. So the search for the city's administrative head who will report to City Council on the operation of services and programs continues. A community survey was recently live. It just closed not too long ago to gather public input on key initiatives and desired qualities to guide hiring. Opportunities to meet the finalists will occur. It's looking like next month, and appointment is expected in summer. And you can learn more all about that and updates when they become available at beavertonoregon.gov/city manager. The shelter is extended through May. So the Beaverton Severe Weather Shelter has extended operations through May 31st to continue support for area adults experiencing homelessness and in response to COVID-19. Just Compassion of East Washington County will continue to operate the shelter using funding provided by Washington County. The shelter will be the only site in the county to maintain operations in a group setting with staff and resources available to enrolled participants. Together with relief shelters offering individualized space, there will be a countywide capacity to serve nearly 160 adults aged 18 and older. Beaverton's shelter opened for its 5th season in November 2020 with expanded operations to include continuous 24 hours, 7 days a week services for up to 30 adults on an enrollment basis. Shelter guests are provided with meals, showers, access to resources, and referral to social services. Referral for adults in need can be enrolled by contacting Community Connect at 503-640-3263 or visiting www.co.washington.or.us/homeless. And families can access the Family Shelter Network by calling that same number, 503-640-3263. The shelter is not currently taking volunteers or donations at this time, but those interested can check the website for future needs. And for that website, for more information and updates about the shelter is beavertonoregon.gov/shelter. And last but certainly not least, the Spring Voters Forum. So hear from the candidates running for City Council, Position 1, and Tualatin Hills Park and Recreation District, THPRD, directors in the May 18th special election. The Beaverton Committee for Community Involvement, BCCI, will host the live virtual event on Thursday, April 29th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. The event can be viewed online at beavertonoregon.gov/voters forum or on Tualatin Valley Community Television, TVC TV, channels 30 for English and 28 for Spanish. Attendees are encouraged to ask the candidates questions in advance to be featured during the event. The deadline for question submissions is Monday, April 26th, so just right around the corner. And questions should be directed to all candidates for a given position. So those are all the updates I have for you. I'll go ahead and start putting those links in the chat. And if anybody has any questions, please let me know.
Very thorough as always.
I can't take any credit for it. Actually, Diana somewhere in the audience had some part in it. So kudos.
We were able to take down several free art kits to the shelter to give people something to do, and and I got a tour, which was wonderful. So, okay. Any questions for Franziska? Olivia has been trying to get in, and it is her computer that is preventing her from doing so. So she apologizes for not being here. And now we have the portion that is about traffic calming program. It's an overview that Konnette Etheredge, one of our BCCI members, is on with the land use subcommittee as well. And then there are a couple of Neighbor Southwest NAC traffic calming projects. So Alison, do you want to take this on if it's in your area?
Sure. So just so that everyone's on the same page, there are 2 current proposed traffic calming projects in Neighbor Southwest. The first one is on Southwest 155th Avenue, and that's between Cormorant and Falcon. The second project is on Southwest 155th Terrace. And that's between Shoals Ferry and Snowy Owl Lane. Both of those projects have recently had the neighborhood meeting that's publicly noticed. If we have some attendees in the audience, you have probably seen those red A-frames that were along the streets, letting people know that there was a public neighborhood meeting with the traffic engineering project team. The project for Southwest 155th Avenue between Cormorant and Falcon, that neighborhood meeting was on April 8th. And then just last week, the neighborhood meeting for Southwest 155th Terrace happened on April 15th. I will put the traffic calming website in the chat, because if you weren't able to make those neighborhood meetings, you can watch the recorded version. There is also the project PDF and the information that we have so far there as well. But this is a discussion so that we can hear about the discussions that BCCI has been having with Traffic Commission, and they have been making requests to have the traffic calming program and process reviewed, and they are requesting some possible revisions and changes to that process. So we are really excited to hear from Konnette Etheredge, so she can update us on what's been happening on the BCCI side. And we also have with us Eric Wuehler. Welcome, Eric. And Eric is in Neighbors Southwest, and he is the individual that was behind submitting that request for 155th Avenue between Cormorant and Falcon. So we thought it would be great to hear from him so we can get his feedback on what the process has been like. If he has any feedback that would be helpful as these conversations happen about what would make the process more streamlined and more efficient and helpful for our community members. So without further ado, Konnette, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. It's good to hear everybody still continuing to work on traffic calming. I think that's becoming more and more important. We're having a little reprieve with the COVID, I think, and that our traffic levels have dropped a little, but probably will go back up again. So we'll be seeing some of the same concerns that we did before. I'm from the Highland Neighborhood Association. I found myself on BCCI, and they had already started a work group by that time on the on traffic calming that stemmed from concerns that both Central Beaverton and our Highland Neighborhood Association had. And so that's part of what I'm here tonight for, is to get some feedback from this meeting about people's experiences with the traffic calming process. The city is concerned about the livability and the safety of the neighborhoods, and that is the one of the primary purposes of the traffic calming program. And it allows a process by which you can a neighborhood might get resources to do planning and design for new traffic calming processes in their neighborhood. This process involves, as you guys sound like you already know, a 3-phase process. The first phase is generally a 6-month phase where you use less intensive kind of measures such as monitoring and signage to deal with the traffic problems. And then from that you go on to, if it's felt those are not addressing the problem, then it goes on to a second phase. This is what I think of as kind of a data collection and support verification for the project phase, where an initial survey goes out that 51% of people the project has designated households that are assigned to that project that are allowed to vote. And this first project assures that 51% of those households or property owners agree that work should go forward on a traffic calming project. And then they also do a very intensive look at traffic volumes and speeds, and they use national markers for the safety concerns in according to the posting of the speed posting of that particular area. After that, they would then go on to a project design and public meeting phase and a final vote. In the public meeting phase, anybody that is part of that area or is concerned about that area can attend those meetings. The vote is a they call that a survey vote. And I think that's where our concern from the BCCI comes in, is that a survey is sent out after all the public meetings for the final verification of the neighborhood's acceptance of the project design and desire to go forward with implementing traffic calming proposal. And at that time, a 67% of that entire population must vote to the positive. So if, for instance, if you have 100 designated houses, 67 votes must come in support of that project. Any other votes that did not get returned would be added to the no votes. Abstained votes will come off of the total number of household votes. So what that means is that persons that did not necessarily participate for whatever reason in a returning of votes have, in most cases, in our experience, have the ability to sink a project, even though you might have an overwhelming show of support to the positive. If enough people do not return votes, then the project will fail.
Konnette, would it be helpful if I did a screen share with the kind of diagram that Miles had used in the past?
Do you have that diagram?
I do. I have that
Sure,
handy.
you can use that.
Just so that people can see kind of what that means visually. And Konnette, you're welcome to talk about how these two charts compare.
So the diagram on the left shows you how you could have 66% of a positive vote, but still have a proposal fail if 34% of people just simply do not vote or turn in a vote. And then the right side, that one looks, not sure that's correct, but what you would need on the right side is for at least 45%.
No, so what the right side is showing is that the suggestion that is being made is that 67% of homes that respond. So of that 66% that was on the same side as the left side, that would be, these are all the people that voted. And so it would need to be 67% of the people that actually voted.
Okay, so that's a suggestion that could be a solution to the problem, is to have a cap on the number of people that are voted that vote, and make the percentages based on that formula, that calculation. Does that make sense?
So I guess just can I ask a question since?
Sorry, Konnette, I think Eric was going to say something.
I was just going to ask, since my group is coming up on that point right now, am I to understand that the proposal would be not returning your vote would be the same as if you returned a vote with the abstain at this point? And so you count all the yeses and all the nos.
No.
And a not return is an abstain, is that?
No, the not return goes into the no vote category.
No, I mean,
Abstain would,
the
if
new
you haven't-
proposal.
Oh, the new proposal. I don't think, that was just an example of a proposal. We haven't
Okay.
finalized a recommendation for that yet.
All right, sorry.
That's okay. So it's also, we did have 3 events in the last 3 years where where all 3 of our proposals did not pass, and almost these were pretty much due to the non-return votes making the determination that the project would fail. And so why I'm here tonight is we're interested in, the work group is interested in going forward and finding out what other NAC's experiences were with traffic calming process in general, and what their thoughts might be on considering a different formulation for the final survey vote. And if anybody have thoughts on
Sexton
that?
Mountain Drive had a traffic calming proposal that was put forward by a NAC member, and he championed it all the way through, and it did pass. And we have it was kind of different than what we had anticipated for some of us anyway, but it is it's not what Jabra says is the most efficient traffic calming, which is the speed humps. It is more of a directional, the islands in the middle, and signage that flashes your speed. The other thing that when we did they did the presentation at Traffic Commission, one of the comments that I had typed in, but I don't know that they ever saw it, was to put on the front of the envelope that if you do not send this in, it equals a no vote. In other words, you don't have to open the envelope to see the contents and the information, but that important piece would be on the face of the envelope. Just as a means to further educate people who are being asked to vote in the first place.
Okay. That would be, I think that anything that clarifies what the importance of the vote is and would be a helpful process there. We're wondering, do you think you still have speeding problems in your neighborhood? Is there still problems that have yet to be addressed, or that you are still concerned about?
I don't know if it's referring to my specific, the 155th solution, but yes, I think some of the things that were interesting that we discovered as part of the first meeting was the guidelines, and I'm sure they're posted somewhere. I just wasn't aware that a couple of traffic calming efforts had failed in the past because they did the speed tests, and the speed has to be average. I think it was either 5 or 7 miles per hour over the speed limit before. If it isn't, then it fails the gathering phase. So we were 8 or 9 miles over the posted speed limit, which is how it got to the next step. And so some of the I think things for
eligibility.
Yeah, it was what are all the eligibility criteria? Because it wasn't, if it was somewhere, which I'm sure it is, it was not easy for me just going on Google or Beaverton, Oregon.gov to try to find, okay, what's the criteria? What's the possibilities? We also learned stuff about speed bumps have to be so far from other intersections, things like that. Because, obviously I'm looking at it going, I want what I see in this other neighborhood over here, and I find out I can't because of other criteria, which I wasn't aware of.
I think that's a good point. This data collection and phase where they do the street measurements, that's based on a national standard of 85%, that speeds in that area are posted for what 85% of drivers will do. That can be a kind of a confusing criteria, and one that's been, some people contest as a solution. It's just something that they use.
Konnette and Eric, there is a, in the chat, Agron, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name. How is it determined who can vote?
It has to do with the site itself, and they will also include cross streets that are within 150.
I think it's 250.
It says 150 in the, I've heard them say 250. I've heard both, and I've seen the 150 in the online descriptions of the city. But
I think if you go watch the video from ours, I swear he said 200 feet, because there were some neighbors who were just outside who joined, and I thought that was the number. So it's somewhere between 150 and 250.
Yeah, I think the Bonnie Bray one was 250. Yeah.
Yeah, I that's what I've heard him say before as well, that it's 250. Some of the, even that's kind of a concern on our Wilson Street project. That is a street that goes by 2 different schools. So we have families whose children are walking well beyond that 250. Example of a concern that maybe should be broader than
well, I think also one of the
should be an ability to adapt these criteria a little. No, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I know one of the concerns that was brought up in our meeting was there were several people, especially with how the roads work. It's there were a number of people who were just outside who wanted to know, well, I want to be included and I want to be able to vote because I want it to be positive. And then the negative to that is your pie charts that we saw earlier is if you expand it, then you include more people, which means there's more potential for people to say no or to not vote. And so, when we put together ours, we kind of, as the neighbors, didn't do a heavy canvas, but kind of just neighborhood chats. I mean, I live on a cul-de-sac on Falcon Court, the cul-de-sac, and it's kind of double blind, curved corners. And I'm now on my 3rd teenage driver. So, it makes me nervous every time they go up to the top of that hill and try to turn left. So we've got email addresses of all the neighbors, and that's kind of how we kind of publish it. We'd talk to the people. We didn't know about other areas who would be included, but for Falcon Court and a couple of other neighbors that we knew, we just kind of got emails together, and it was really a group effort. I know I'm here representing that one, but it was more than just me.
Eric, when is the video of your meeting going to be posted? And maybe Franziska knows this.
It's actually already posted.
Is it posted now? Okay. Because
Sharon, it's on the link that I put in the chat box. Okay. So both of those recorded meetings for both projects are up there.
And both Jabra and Tony were both there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
So it sounds like what the scope of the project and how that's determined can be concerns. And I would agree. One of the other pieces of the process is that each of the projects is ranked. And if you get past the 6-month period and you do a submission, request a design proposal, every year, a couple of those design proposals are designated as projects for that year. And they are based on what their ranking is as far as a priority among all the other proposals. If they don't make it in that first year, they will stay on the proposal list for 4 years. And at the end of that time, they will drop off the list. And I'm wondering how people feel about that sort of a process for maintaining a list of potential projects.
Can you tell us what determines the ranking?
Well, I not exactly. The ranking is done with the traffic engineer and the traffic commission, and it has to do, I think, with what safety priorities, financial issues, and what the data has, what the traffic data has indicated about the potential for that area.
I believe that was one of the questions that someone asked on our video. If you watch our video, someone had asked that in a chat, and I think the answer was the speed was a big ranking factor, and the fact that there were 2 accidents on that road in the last, I don't remember if it was 6 months or a year, caused it to bump up, which kind of goes along with what you were saying.
Mm-hmm. And it is difficult to make a priority list of this kind, I think. I mean, a lot of these are qualitative, not really quantitative kind of measures. Let's see.
So Franziska, we have 6 attendees who are not promoted to panelists. And one of them already asked a question. So lots about bringing them on board for forwarding questions, especially if this is why they.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I was going to propose just unmuting all of them. And if anybody has any feedback for Konnette or questions that can contribute to this conversation, because they might be here specifically for this portion of the agenda, I'll just go ahead and do that now. You don't have to talk. This is just giving you the permissions to unmute your microphone.
And there are 6. So please feel free. We don't see you at this point, but we see your names. And I think I apologize in advance. Is it Agron or Agron? You had asked the one question. So are there others who have questions as well?
If not, what I am tasked to do is to ask if any of you might be interested in providing feedback, either and testimony to BCCI measures, and specifically about whether you would support or not support a relook at how that final vote is calculated. And also, if the board would be interested in a vote to support changes to the traffic calming process, or a review of changes to the to be considered for the traffic calming process.
Diana, did you have a question?
Sure. Hi, it's Diana again. I joke, sometimes I'm Diana Balbag and sometimes I'm Diana McLaughlin. So I'll be Diana McLaughlin right now, who lives on Oriole Circle. And I'll just share that some of the feedback that I heard, and I did not attend the first meeting to talk about the project on 155th, I think that would be Avenue, was the 250 feet distance. And I think that's where a lot of my neighbors had kind of voiced some of their questions and concern, with the total understanding of, you know, the more people and the more voices, the more potential for that no vote. But I think for people who are engaged in the process and wanted to be a part of it, and seeing, I am one of those people that my neighbor to the right of me is included in the 250 and I am not, but I have small children and a lot of people who, you know, are walkers to the nearby school. And so I think they had similar concerns and questions too about how would they really get their opinion voiced in a meaningful way if they weren't allowed to have a, you know, quote unquote vote in the process. And so I just wanted to be able to share that feedback, not necessarily for myself, but on behalf of some of my neighbors who kind of shared that with me. So
I think that's a very interesting point. I think the street by street kind of project designation has its own issues. In my street, for instance, my problem in our area is that people come in through Hartmeier-Prigg, go down to 136, turn on 136, come across my street, and then go down Highland to get to Hart, and as a way of avoiding speed bumps and stop signs and that sort of thing. That's not an easy project to outline, and I think that another concern is if a project is approved and goes through on one area, how does that ultimately affect another area? So it seems that more flexibility in the definition of the project might be warranted, depending on what the data shows and what the request is. Does that make sense?
Well, Konnette, your testimony in front of Traffic Commission, as I recall it, was stating a very good case for that issue of cut through traffic. It just dominoes. You're trying to avoid one area, so it pushes it to another. Yeah, and so especially in the Highlands.
Yes. Concern is that we probably need additional kinds of things in our toolkit to address the traffic problems that we are finding, especially with the increased building that is happening west of our neighborhood. It seems that you really need to be able to look at a neighborhood-wide approach in some cases, and that street by street, with maybe your project coming up 2 or 3 years after you initially have submitted your request, could actually be a deterrent to some good problem solving for some of these traffic concerns. There's concern about, it's interesting to me that in 2000, there was a private, the city had a private firm provide a report on traffic in this area and what the concerns we should be looking for. And that project was to support the 2010 goal setting for the city. And it may be that another kind of all-encompassing global look at traffic in our area might be warranted. I'm not sure, but in addition to fixing some of these street-by-street processes, or at least taking a look at them and maybe improving some of them, it might be not a bad thing to look at what neighborhood-wide vehicles we could use to address traffic concerns and cut through. I think I was looking at the traffic counts that they do every year. Practically every year they do a traffic count in our different neighborhoods. And it looks like about a third of the traffic that goes from down Hart, for instance, is cut through traffic. This is a neighborhood that hasn't had any recent development, and so our traffic patterns shouldn't be changing that wildly. The Wilson Street traffic counts had what looked like an 80% increase in one section of that road, and I'm not sure what that was caused from or what to make of that, but it just seems that we're heading into a new era of traffic management and to protect our neighborhoods and really focus on the livability of related to traffic. I think this is a good timing.
Well, thank you, Konnette, and thank you, Eric, for being here and for I would definitely say if you really want to get a kind of a primer on traffic calming, I have not visited the one for 155th, but I have seen a couple of other of the videos, and they are educational so that you can kind of get on top of some of the criteria and statistics and things. So I would tell people to go and look online for those.
I think that's a good idea. It's also not easy to find all of the projects, and maybe another recommendation might be that information is a little bit more accessible than trying to search the city web.
And our BCCI committee, the land use subcommittee, is working on a number of things, traffic calming being one of many of the land use issues. So we're trying to make it more user-friendly for not just NACs, but just general public to be able to go on and
yes, and really good work is started on that. So, if I could put in the chat the neighborhood mail.
Yeah, if you'll do that, we can, if it's okay with everybody, because we're a little behind time, that we have some NAC business. So is that okay, Konnette?
Yes, you can move on, and I just lost you guys, but
okay.
Eric, thank you so much for joining us. Did you have any other, was there any other additional feedback you have to send Konnette's way on the process, since you're right in the thick of it right now?
No, I will be curious to see. I think our next meeting is May 6th. I think they present options that I guess we get to vote on. So I'm looking forward to that.
And Eric, can you come back to maybe our May meeting and do a report?
Sure.
That would be good to just see kind of sequentially how this plays out. Since this is, a neighborhood topic and one in which we can all educate one another about processes like this. That would be wonderful to sort of connect the dots.
Yep, happy to do it.
Okay, wonderful.
Hello, I've got a question. My name's Steve Allen, and I actually live quite close to Eric. I'd just like to, hopefully I could get Eric's phone number or email address so that I could contact him. I back on the folks who live on Falcon Court.
Yeah, if it's okay, I'm happy to put my email in the chat if that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Any way of contacting you would be awesome. Thanks, Eric.
Okay.
Thanks for the question, Steve. Thank you, Eric, so much for joining us. And thank you, Konnette, also for laying this all out for us. Thank you.
And Konnette, I just got your work group list of five questions, so we'll get on that too. So thank you very much. The next NAC business, we have no minutes to review. They're tabled until next month. So we'll go on to Jim to tell us about the Treasury.
Yeah, I'm going to table that till next month as well until Sharon and myself and Miles, when he gets back, when we get together and transfer these funds, and then we'll take care of it.
Okay.
The funds are there. We'll take care of it. But I'm going to
Jim, you can just transfer them over to me.
We'll work something out.
Yeah. They're gonna go to the Beaverton Arts Commission. Okay, so any new business? I see that there are only two other attendees, and if you can put in the chat if there are any things that you would like to see as far as topics, ideas, suggestions, please feel free. We're always looking for your feedback, and you can put those into the chat.
Really quick, I just wanted to mention that we had talked about, I think at the leadership meeting, having Shannon Mason, the events program manager, come to a future meeting. And I just wanted to see if you wanted to have her in May to discuss the various events. I know that there's, if you haven't heard already, there's a whole wellness series happening in May, Saturdays in May, which is really exciting. But if you wanted to have her back to have her out to the NAC in May, I'm happy to facilitate that.
That would be wonderful. Yeah, I know night market's going to be in August, and they're trying not to group too many things together, and they're looking at the year ahead. So this would be great before it gets too far into the year. Wonderful. And you can facilitate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Any other business before we adjourn? Mark, thanks for hanging on.
I want to say, yeah, congratulations, Franziska, to your new house. Try to get into our neighborhood, but
I know. She's closer. She's closer.
It's crazy out there. What can I say? It's, I feel lucky to just be in a house, period. So, but yes, much closer to the neighborhood, just on the other side of Hart. So. Mark, I'm now using all of the THPRD parks. My stepdaughter just cannot believe the proliferation of parks that are at her fingertips now. It's really wonderful. So,
congratulations, Franziska. That's exciting.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. First time homeowner, so it's exciting stuff. But thanks all, and thanks to everyone who sent me leads for houses in Sexton Mountain.
That's right. Jim was your realtor there for a while, right?
He was sending me emails.
I was only asking 8%.
Oh. All right. Did we have somebody else who had their hand up?
I have a quick question, actually, really quick. And Mark, I'm not sure if you will be able to answer this, but since we were talking about traffic calming, a question I've been hearing is on the power line trail that where it crosses Teal Boulevard, there's a crosswalk that goes, across a very, very high traffic street, and there's no flashing beacon there. Yet there's a flashing beacon at other points, like where the trail crosses Barrows, and I think also where it crosses Hart. I believe there's a flashing beacon. Do you have an idea of why Teal Boulevard doesn't have one, or is that something that is there a separate process for that? Or
yeah, I mean the process is either through the county or the city, whoever is the rightful owner of the street in a sense. So when we've had those trails in for a long time, when we actually do upgrades, we do work with the proper jurisdiction to try to add those types of ped crossings, but not all the time does one go in, because they're all limited with budgets as well. And so it's just something that takes time. The plan would be that everything would be able to have something eventually. But why Teal doesn't have one was probably because that development went in 25, 30 years ago, and it just hasn't had probably any activity as far as concerns may be brought up. I know that a lot of the expansions we've had up in the north area, every time we do a trail, that ped crossing is usually developed with the plan with the county or the city. So it's just probably timing and money at this point.
is there a spot where I could submit a request for that to be looked at? And
Well, really going to be working with the city or county at that point. I mean, we have the trails on either side, but it's the street. So, if it's a county or city street, that would be, usually the jurisdiction that usually funds it. But I mean, I could talk to somebody in our planning department to try to get more details and then get to you if that would help.
Yeah, that would be very helpful. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, especially in light of there's a traffic beacon being proposed on Beard, right by where the dentist office is. It's a 2T intersection.
Okay.
So though they don't like to have T intersections, and this happens to have 2 Ts. So it's a little bit more hazardous. And I just saw the red signs out for that. So I would think that something like the teal would be, it's a high traffic, pedestrian area. And I would see that would really garner a good response to having that looked at.
Okay, I'll see what I can come up with and get back to you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. Do I have a motion for adjournment? Not that we need one.
I make a motion to adjourn this wonderful meeting. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks.
All right, and I think we're all in favor, so thank you so much, everyone, for coming.